May 10th, 1940. The same day Hitler invaded France, Britain got a new Prime Minister. But what happened in the 24 hours before Churchill took power would determine whether Britain survived or surrendered. And it almost went very, very differently. This is the story they don't tell in the history books. How Churchill became Prime Minister wasn't just about politics, it was about a secret meeting, a king who didn't trust him, and a decision that came down to one man's refusal to give up. Welcome back to Churchill Uncovered. The crisis unfolds. May 9th, 1940, 11:30 p.m. Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain sits in 10 Downing Street, knowing his government is finished. The Norway campaign has failed. Hitler's forces are massing for the invasion of France, and Parliament has lost confidence in his leadership. But here's what most people don't know. Chamberlain didn't want Churchill to succeed him. Neither did King George VI. Neither did most of the Conservative Party. They all preferred Lord Halifax, the Foreign Secretary, a man who believed Britain should negotiate peace with Hitler. At this moment, the future of the free world hung on a conversation that was about to happen between two men in a small room in Westminster. And one of them was about to make the most important decision in British history. The secret meeting, May 9th, 4:30 p.m. Earlier that day, Chamberlain had called Churchill and Halifax to a private meeting. The question was simple: who would be the next Prime Minister? Halifax was the obvious choice. He was respected, diplomatic, and crucially, he believed in negotiating with Hitler. Churchill was seen as a warmonger, unpredictable and dangerous. But then, something extraordinary happened. When Chamberlain asked Halifax if he would serve as Prime Minister, Halifax said no, not because he didn't want the job, but because he realized something crucial. He was in the House of Lords, not the House of Commons. Leading a war government from the Lords would be impossible. This wasn't just constitutional nicety, it was strategic genius. Halifax understood that modern warfare required a leader who could speak directly to the people, who could rally the nation through radio and Parliament. He essentially handed the job to Churchill. Churchill's hidden preparation. But here's the secret. Churchill had been preparing for this moment for years, not just politically, but militarily. While Chamberlain was pursuing appeasement, Churchill had been quietly building relationships with Britain's military innovators. He knew about the radar development at Bawdsey Manor. He had connections with the scientists working on jet engines. He understood the potential of code breaking at Bletchley Park. Most importantly, he had been thinking about unconventional warfare since World War I. When Churchill walked into Buckingham Palace on May 10th to kiss hands with the King, he wasn't just accepting a political position. He was implementing a military strategy he'd been developing for decades. The King's reluctance. King George VI did not want Churchill as Prime Minister. The King thought Churchill was reckless, unreliable, and potentially dangerous. But Churchill did something brilliant in their first meeting. Instead of talking about politics or strategy, Churchill talked about innovation. He explained his vision for new weapons, new tactics, new ways of fighting. He showed the King that this wasn't just about surviving the war. It was about revolutionizing how wars are fought. Churchill understood something crucial about leadership. You don't just need to convince people you can solve today's problems. You need to convince them you can solve tomorrow's problems too. The first decision. Churchill's first act as Prime Minister wasn't a speech or a meeting. It was approving funding for a top-secret project, the development of special forces units that would later become the Commandos. While Halifax would have been calling Hitler to negotiate, Churchill was already planning to take the fight to the enemy in ways they couldn't imagine. This decision, made within hours of taking office, shows you everything you need to know about the difference between these two men. Churchill didn't just want to survive the war, he wanted to win it through innovation, creativity, and sheer audacity. So when you think about May 10, 1940, remember, this wasn't just the day Churchill became Prime Minister. It was the day Britain chose innovation over negotiation, creativity over convention, and audacity over appeasement. Lord Halifax would have been a perfectly competent peacetime leader, but Britain didn't need competent, it needed revolutionary. And that's exactly what they got. What other pivotal moments in Churchill's rise would you like to see uncovered? Let me know below, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from history's most crucial decisions.